want us to talk about this thing. Conflict resolutions. When is enough enough? In any relationship, there's bound to be conflict.
Hello, my friend, wherever you are. I want to tell you a little story about the animal we call Wart Hog. Or do you call it Wart Hog? Let's call it Wart Hog for now. In my vernacular, it's called Giri. And in Swahili, I was looking for the name for it, and I was consulting a friend who said it's called Gili. Gili. And Kikuyu is Giri. One of us, those two traditions, one of them borrowed from the other. But it's this very interesting animal. Actually, one of animals we think is ugly. In the days when you call somebody Giri, you got offended when somebody did that. There is a saying in my vernacular that goes this way. Dukariganero ta giri. Don't you ever forget like a Wart Hog. This animal is relatively pretty fast. I'm told it can go like what, 30 kilometers an hour, or is it miles? And it's fast. And of course, you know the animals in the world, one is a prey to the other, one is a predator, and it has its enemies. Now, when a Wart Hog is being chased by a wild cat, like a lion or whatever, it goes so fast, running. And you know, they get into some dungeons where they hide in some kind of a holes or just in the bush, whatever it is. And as the Wart Hog is running, it sees green grass. And for a moment, forgets that it was running and start eating grass. And guess what? The predator is on him or her. So we always say, be careful not to forget like a Wart Hog. Because you could be in a situation where the enemy is pursuing you with the intention of killing you, murdering you, mauling you. And sometimes we get disillusioned that we forget that not everybody likes us. Not everybody likes you, my friend. And it's very important that we are cautious to see those forces that are after us, because some forces are not meant for good. That's one way to look at it. The other thing is to see how some people who would want you to be like a Wart Hog, to forget the harm they did to you yesterday. Oh yes. You know, I can't help but in the last few weeks and few months, we've been consumed by politics in Kenya. Because how can we not? And especially when we know that is our land, and whatever happens there, it affects us directly and indirectly because we invest there. Our parents are there, our family members are there, and therefore, whatever happens there affects us. And therefore, as I was consulting, I was told a story. I'm not gonna name names, but you can try to deduce out of my narration. Don't worry, we shall hurt him, we shall hurt them, but they'll forget. Oh, after a few weeks, few months, maybe a year or two, they'll forget. Because I know what to do to them so that they forget. I know their green grass. And like Wart Hog, they will forget this once they see the green grass, and they'll forget the harm I'll do to them. You see, there are people who have mastered other communities so well. They know how to manipulate them. They know how to get them. They know the carrot they're going to use so that they can sing their songs. And the caution is, don't forget, like the Wart Hog. You know, all of us are vulnerable. All of us play or fall into something. And especially those things that we love so much. In a different episode, I narrated how when the colonialists came to Kenya, they saw some communities that were so much gravitated towards besha, money. And if you show people money, they can sell you even their birthright. That is how serious it is with some people. And therefore, there are those people who've realized how to get onto people's nerves. Don't worry. I'll whip them. I'll deny them this. But I know what I'm going to get them to soften, soothe their throat. And they'll forget. It's a matter of 2 weeks, maybe a month, or maybe a year, or is it 2 years, or is it 3 years? They'll come around, they'll forget. Really? And you, the predator, I would like to warn you. You can fool people or you can call people Wart Hog, but you cannot always fool them. In this country, they say, once bitten, twice shy. And what comes around goes around, or what goes around comes around. It will come to haunt you at some point. And therefore, be careful, my friend, because your enemy, once they know your weakness, they're going to capitalize on that weakness. I feel so sad that people are so naive to think that people would forget the harm they do to others. And be careful when you are in authority, when you are in power, to think that other people are stupid, that people don't think. They may look ugly like Wart Hog. You can corner them for a moment, but not for a lifetime. And therefore, don't take advantage of people's weakness. Whether we are going to sell our birthright through money or land or whatever, be careful, my friend, because you know what? Times do change. And one day you will find the Wart Hog will ignore that grass and it will strategically go for refuge and for a safety net. That Wart Hog may reorganize and may come back to bite you. So, any situation in your life, and you find somebody is about to feast on your ignorance, feast on your naivety, and maybe they are talking in closed door, leave this alone, I know what to get down. A couple of $1 million will do, or rather, a couple of million shillings will do. You forget they can even sell their brothers and sisters. It is so sad when we take advantage of other people, especially when we use them and dump them. You know, one thing I've learned is that just like the word of God in the parable of the sower, do you remember the parable of the sower? About the person who planted some seed and what happened to those seeds? Some fell on the path, others fell on rocky ground, others fell among thorns. And you know what happened? It's like the enemy is waiting for the sower to plant a seed. And the seed is so innocent. The seed that falls on the path is eaten by birds that keep following. As the seed is dropped, they'll come and eat. And by the time you look back, you realize you don't have the seed anymore. I've given this story before here, but let me say it for the sake of my narration. Two little boys who are going through the woods, and they realized that they might get lost in the forest, and therefore what they decided to do is to have their bread and have little pieces of bread, drop them as they travel, so that they will find their way out, or rather, they will know their path backwards. What they did not know is that as they put down those pieces of bread, some bird would follow them and eat. They would wait for the boys to throw, and the birds would eat. And when they reached their destination, they could not trace their way back. And they were lost in the forest. Be careful, be on the lookout, because there are people who watch, and they're going to feast on your innocence, on your naivety. Before you know it, you'll be caught like the Wart Hog was caught eating grass. And then you have those seeds that fell on rocky areas. And within the rock, there was no foundation because there was no dirt. There was no enough soil to hold the seed. There was no foundation. There was nothing that would hold. And so what would happen is that when you don't have a base, you can't hold. There's no way that you're going to sprout. There are people in this life who will dismiss you once they know you're just a Wart Hog, and they'll know that there will be a time you'll be exhausted, and they hit you at your weakest point. Be careful. Don't trust people. Trust God. Because there are people who would realize and know that there is no value you bring to their life. And when they realize that they have used you, it's like having that sugar cane in your mouth and you chew it until you feel there is no more sugar. And they'll spew you out. We took our son when he was young. We took him back to Kenya. Michael came here when he was just 1 year old. But a time when I think we took him when he was like, what, 7, 8 years or something. And he had not chewed a cane. So he had to chew a cane. And after he had pressed all the juice, he realized the juice was not there anymore. And so he said, what am I supposed to do with this? I don't feel it's not tasty anymore. He didn't know what he was supposed to swallow. We told him, hey, if there's no more sugar or juicy, just chew them out. There are people who will pursue you and you'll not be aware of what's going on and what their motive is. And especially when they realize you have no value in their life. One day, I came to this country for high school in the late 70s. Upon return, I went back to Nakuru because that's where my uncle was living. And I wanted to come back to the US to pursue further education. And I remember I was being connected to some major in the army and all that. I ended up talking to area MP. I'm not going to mention name, but maybe you can do the maths and know who was the MP then. He called me to his Kano office. You know, those days when you're an MP being a Kano leader, that's where you got the power. So I went to somewhere in Nakuru. And I was happy that he gave me some audience. And he just gave me an audience because somebody knew somebody. And this somebody knew somebody important. And this somebody important knew the MP. He said, hey, you can come back. You can come. The first few minutes, young man, what's your name? I am so and so. By the way, where do you hail from? I was proud with my Nyahururu Ngarua because that's where I was brought up. Yes, Nyahururu. Ngarua. Where did you go to school? Mweje. I was one of the early past. I was the head boys there, and I was one of the early 9 students who was there. Anyway, he asked me this question. What does your father do? And I'm wondering, what has the father to do with going back to the US and all that? Something clicked. The minute I told him that he's a peasant farmer, he has a 30-acre land, he's farming, and he's an old guy, and that's what he does. I was cooked. I guess that was the end of the story. Because what followed was like, oh, okay, all right, you know, it's very hard to get scholarship these days, but yeah, it might be very difficult. But if there'll be a chance, I'll let you know. I left there with my naivety and I told people, oh, have you met the MP? Yeah, I've met him, and he asked me what my father does. And he said, he asked you that? Oh, you are done. You're not going to get help. You know what? I think he expected that my father would be this person who, if I got scholarship, maybe you'll give him 3 cows or whatever, you know? What I'm trying to say is that there are people in life who will know your vulnerability and they'll know where to get you. So back to the story of the Wart Hog. The saying once again, dokanariganirwa ta giri. Usije ukasahau kama ngili. And if you are in the habit of forgetting, just know that your enemies know your soft spots and your weaknesses, if you may call it. So that next time you are smarter. If you see green grass, Bypass that. Go for your safety first. Don't stop there and you think that you are safe. Just remember, in this life, not everybody wishes you well. Not everybody wishes you are in your position. They will do whatever it will take to kick you up, like impeachment. Whatever it is, they will get rid of you, especially when they know you are of no value. That's why on another episode, I was encouraging the Deputy President Rigathi, if he ever have another chance, don't go hunting without some dogs. And I know you know what that means. Because when they realize you have no dogs, then you may not have any portion of meat. That's how unkind people can be. So be on the alert, my friend. Don't fall for those things because you may not reach your goal. Be focused. Be alert. And know that not everybody wishes you good. Not everybody trusts you. Isn't it so sad that in this time and era, instead of going by the phrase that everybody is innocent until proven guilty, it's the other way around. Everybody is guilty until you prove your innocence. It is so sad. Who do you trust? And as I have explained about the parable of the sower, remember there was a good soil. Where the seed fell on the good soil. And when it fell on the good soil, it was a great harvest. I'm going to end up with good news because my hermeneutic teacher said, whatever gospel you give, make sure you end up with good news. The good news is that there is always a remnant. Even when you have all those enemies, be it political, economic, what have you, there is always some remnant. There are some seed that fell on good soil. Look around for those good soil. Because there are those people around your life, come rain, come shine. They will stand with you, they will stick with you. Even when death calls. But we have very few in this life. Majority or many of our people are those who will sell you. Like Jesus sold Jesus for a few coins. Mr. Wart Hog, when you see some green things, ignore them. There are a lot of things that are going to be handed to you so that you may forget. Whatever that is, don't fall into any trap. You have a good speed, Mr. Wart Hog. I hear you are able to curve very easily and you can actually escape the hyenas and the predators in the wild. But pray for heaven's sake when you see green grass, pass it. Your life comes first. Find a place to hide yourself. And when we live, my friend, it's good sometimes to look around and watch even those who may think they are good friends of yours. Your enemy is within. So be watchful, be careful, don't act. Wart Hog. No better. And if you have been beaten once, get shy the second time. God bless you. Be wise. Don't act. Wart Hog. God bless you.